We usually view Italian silk as a luxury fashion staple. 6 centuries ago, it was a ruthless economic engine that powered the Renaissance. For centuries, the Chinese state held an absolute monopoly on sericulture, the complex process of farming silkworms. They guarded the secret so fiercely that anyone caught smuggling silkworm eggs out of the Han Dynasty faced a death sentence. To reach the West, the fabric had to survive the Silk Road. Caravans spent months crossing the scorching Gobi Desert and the freezing mountain passes of the Pamirs. By the time silk reached Rome, it arrived priced higher than its weight in gold. These trade routes functioned as the ancient world's technology highway. Seeing these advanced textiles flow out of the East made Western empires realize they were facing a massive technological deficit compared to China. By the middle of the 6th century, Emperor Justinian I faced a supply chain crisis. The Byzantine Empire was completely dependent on its rival Persia to act as a middleman for Chinese silk. In 563 AD, Justinian authorized a massive act of industrial espionage. He sent a group of monks traveling east with hollow bamboo canes, designed to hide the stolen biological secrets of an entire industry. The monks weren't stealing machinery, they were stealing biological hardware. Inside those canes were living silkworm eggs and the mulberry seeds required to grow their only food source. The monks successfully reached Constantinople, establishing Europe's first silk hub. But rather than innovating, the Byzantines simply hoarded the technology behind a new wall of imperial secrecy, waiting for the next thief to arrive. 600 years later, the Byzantines still restricted production to heavily guarded imperial workshops in cities like Thebes. King Roger II of Sicily saw a massive flaw in this system. He knew that owning the silkworms was useless without the living knowledge, the master craftsmen who knew how to turn raw thread into luxury fabric. In 1147, while the Byzantines were distracted by the Second Crusade, Roger launched a naval invasion of Thebes. He wasn't looking for gold, he was looking for the people. Roger's forces captured the master weavers and their families, loading them and their physical looms onto ships bound for Palermo. He was effectively copy-pasting the industry's cutting-edge software from one nation to another. This total extraction of human capital broke the Byzantine monopoly. Yet, despite having the materials, machines, and masters, Sicily failed to dominate the global market. If Sicily held the kidnapped masters and the raw materials, it raises a question. Why did Florence and Venice eventually take over the industry? This map shows Sicily's isolation compared to northern city-states. Florence and Venice possessed dense networks of banks and trade that the South lacked. This financial system allowed artisans to invent entirely new luxury goods, like layered velvets and complex brocades. Raw technology and human skill are often trapped without a sophisticated financial system to scale and distribute the finished product. The Medici family eventually took control of the industry by looking away from the looms and focusing on the chemistry of the dye vat. The most profitable sector of the market was a deep, durable shade of red silk. This color was achieved using cochineal, small insects that live on cactus pads. Getting the color to stay was the problem. Weavers needed a mordant, a chemical substance that permanently binds dye molecules to the fabric fibers so the color doesn't fade. At the time, the only effective mordant for this process was a mineral called alum. It's the same crystalline compound used in modern natural deodorants. The Medici family discovered a massive alum mine in Tulfa, within the Pope's territory. They formed a cartel with the papacy, securing the exclusive right to sell alum across Europe, while the Pope banned all Christians from buying it from their Ottoman rivals. By monopolizing a single obscure chemical bottleneck, the Medici gained absolute control over the luxury industry. Every rival weaver in Europe now had to pay Florence just for the privilege of finishing their cloth. The profits from this chemical monopoly funded the Renaissance and created the economic divide between Italy's wealthy north and poorer south that persists today. The goods have changed, but the mechanics of supply chain chokeholds remain the same. The physical theft of silkworm eggs has a modern parallel in the global race for semiconductor manufacturing. Nations now compete for the highly complex machines required to print these circuits. And the Medici's control of alum mirrors the modern struggle to dominate rare earth elements like cerium and neodymium. These refined powders are the invisible fixatives for the entire green energy and electronics industries. controlling a few specific links in the global supply chain decides which nations command the wealth of an era, whether it's a fixative for red fabric in the 15th century or a microchip today.